crueldad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todo se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice? ¿Quién explota? ¿Quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Rise up.
Rise up.
How's it going, everyone?
Peace, peace. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Rise Up International Morning Show. What's going on?
Buna, how you doing?
It's all good.
All good.
Buna just looked like he in a daze. Like, I'm here, you know. That's all I can do is be here.
I'm where I'm supposed to be at this time.
The days are long, the weeks are longer.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of stuff going on, and I think out there in the world, but also, you know, within our own lives. So
right.
It's really a lot, and juggling a lot and thinking about a lot. So
that's true.
I understand why Buna's sitting there looking like that.
Right. Yeah, we got a packed show today. We have a great guest coming in a little bit, right?
We'll introduce later for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We got some stories to get into, some information to discuss. Always talking about how we're gonna get free and all the things that are happening that are, in our way that we got to get out the way.
That's right.
So should we talk about one of the stories that we?
Yeah, let's get into the story
that we have up and running. All right, so let's take a look. We're gonna start off with this story about IET and what's happening. As we know, and as you all know, there's been a lot of instability, a lot of gang activity happening in IET over the past couple of years, and it still continues. And things are dire there as well. Thinking about all of the things that are happening, especially the rise in death tolls, as this article talks about, where it's talking about the rise, the death toll rises to 109 after Haiti gang attack, officials say. And so it was saying that in Port-au-Prince in particular, the death toll from a brutal attack last week has risen to 109 people, and 40 more injured. And so the massacre was where we saw tons of houses and vehicles being torched by gangs, and a lot of fire being opened up last Tuesday in Pont-Saint, so about 60 miles from the capital, Port-au-Prince. You have Walter Manis, deputy delegate and of the Saint Mark district, announcing an update about the toll on the radio, and he was talking about like the significant spike um, since the United Nations said that there were 70 people killed in the attack. And the killings come at, they say, after an international policing mission by the Kenyan forces attempts to restore government control in Haiti, um, where armed gangs have seized swaths of the capital and countryside, and earlier this year helped push out the country's leader. And we also know that the government has condemned the killings as they should be condemned, and the quote unquote, security forces, led by Kenya, are there to protect the area. But in general, it says that it's definitely a fragile state, and they're saying that there's been a little bit of calm, I guess, that has returned since security forces. But Haiti's police force said Wednesday they were seeking to dismantle the gang, which was behind the attack and is led by Luxan Elan, who is under the United States sanctions for human rights violations. And the police said that in a statement that they're beginning to yield satisfactory results. And that's pretty much all the details that they were giving. And so the wave of violence and a humanitarian crisis have forced, like we reported before, more than 700,000 people to flee from their homes, children, women, men, breaking up families, breaking up communities within Haiti. So this is still a really dire situation that's continuing. And after we reported recently, I think it was this week it was last week, where I was reporting on just the rise in the displacement, the internal displacement of people in Haiti. And so to have this also be followed up with the rise in the death toll and, all of these people dying at the hands of gangs, really adds more to the instability that is already being experienced within the country and by the people. And, we're going to work hard in getting someone, to get a guest on to shed more light on what is currently happening within the country. I mean, I know that there's a lot of different country conversations around what it looks like on the ground and who's involved and who's backing these gangs. And so I think it would be, because we know that these gangs are not, the gangs in the way that they're trying to, it may seem in the mainstream media like, okay, these people are just forming gangs, but there's a reason why, you have these gangs existing and being able to carry out attacks like they did, like this article is talking about.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, to make it worse, like you said, we kind of talked about this, I believe, last week, but there's been I know in the Dominican Republic, they officially started massive deportation from they're deporting our Haitian brothers and sisters out of the Dominican Republic back into Haiti. By the thousands, right? Yeah. So it's the exact same island, by the way, just to make sure everybody understands the craziness of this. It's the exact same island, cut in half, by the colonialists. So the Dominican Republic, there's always been that, anti-black racism going on over there, even though they're African as well. But so now the politicians over there definitely are making it, like Buna said, by the thousand, just deporting brothers and sisters out of there. And it's just chaos all over, man. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti can never seem to catch a break. And the powers that be still working against us as always.
Buna, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I was about to say what's funny, but actually it's not really funny. What's ironic is that the president of the Dominican Republic, who's been reelected recently, I guess it was 2 months ago, Luis Abinader, has also a migrant, background. He's Lebanese. And his campaign was centered on the anti-Haitian migration, issue, which is, it reminded that some people who, went through discrimination as they were migrants would, at some point in history, become the oppressors of other migrants, right? This is process of
Right.
whitewashing that we've seen again and again, including South Africa, by the way. Uh, it's not only a matter of color because in South Africa, in 2015, 2019, there was a peak of anti-black, anti-South African, anti-African migrants in the country. So, look like some people tend to forget their history, what they went through.
Right.
Um, yeah, definitely, our Haitian brothers are not. Uh, know, still have not recovered from the neo-colonial assaults against their own country
Of course.
because they have leadership that is, with all due respect, I think many of the politicians they've had, at least those who've been head of state of the past few decades, have been, the hands of imperialism.
Yeah,
Which
that's the reality.
it's quite judgmental. You can sound like judgmental because if you were them, what would you have done something different? I don't know, but the pressure is tremendous. But Haiti just reflects the global situation of Africans because Pan Africanism it was born in Haiti. So as long as our brothers and sisters from Haiti and in Haiti keep suffering, I
Yeah,
think
it shows, like you said.
it
Yep.
doesn't bode well for Africans wherever they are because just like the treatment of the Palestinians show uh, the state of affairs in the Arab world because most Arabs in not only in the Middle East but globally are very attached to the Palestinian cause. So what's happening and also reflects the dynamic work and level of commitment and achievement that people in that region are uh, completing, right? But
Going through. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's also lack of attention and interest in our own African diaspora and what's going on in Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another tragedy that, honestly, I don't know how to circumvent that because
Yeah.
most people that I know of are not interested whatsoever in Haiti, which is a tragedy. And
Yeah.
especially
Right.
now that, there are some black mercenaries who are doing the dirty job of white supremacy, right? Thinking of the Kenyan mercenaries who've been deployed in Haiti. Who have I hope they still haven't been paid. They still haven't cashed their white check. White supremacy check.
They're mercenary checks.
Yeah, their mercenary checks. I mean, people will say, yeah, you're disrespecting, but those people do not deserve our respect because they're going there for money, man.
Yeah.
Very clear, they're going there for Canadian, U.S. and French money, which is used to fund those missions in Haiti. Unfortunately, even our, some of our comrades like Lula in Brazil has been involved in the dirty imperialist job in Haiti because the Brazilian forces within the United Nations have also been involved in the occupation of Haiti. I mean, their record is not very, very, very positive. So, still wondering how we can trigger more interest and more engagement, more involvement of our African brothers and sisters in Haiti because I think it's something that has been underreported. Uh, because if we
Absolutely.
don't take our responsibility, we're up to white philanthropy, white NGOs, white, Western NGOs
Yeah.
to do the job. And, they always expect something in return. So,
Yeah, I think it's just what we go back to. People are disconnected, to reality and to understanding how everything, how who not understanding people are not understanding who our enemy is, how the struggle is connected, and etc. So whatever happens in Haiti, they feel like has nothing to do with them directly, when it has everything to do with them. You know. So I think that's part of the reason.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we think about lack of clarity, around, like you were saying, Fernando, who's the enemy, who's not, especially if we, because when we think about the struggles of the past, like when we think about even apartheid, for example, around that time, we're thinking, and that's off the heels of the Black Power movement, when, when those things are happening. And so you still have some clarity around people really making it clear who the enemy is, right? And people really writing about and thinking about what does that mean, whereas we've moved so far away from that. And it's always this like, oh, who is the enemy? We're not sure who's them. No, them, they're the United States. Like when we're talking about, they're France. Like these are the countries, and these are the countries, these are the powers that continue to do the same things that they were doing in the past. I think also too, when we think about colonialism, we think about it being in the past, but it's still today. And so when we think about what has happened, we think about, oh, how is it that we're still not, when people think about IT, and when people have questions, and even they'll do the same thing when they're talking about Africa, going back to Buna's point about the struggle of IT represents the struggle of African people, of Africa. And so people will think like, well, that was so long ago, colonialism ended, and so, well, how come they're not able to change and be able to do what they're supposed to do? And then, people will also throw on that the false idea of, this is, it's because they use voodoo and blah, 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 blah. So I feel like all of these,
they eat cats, right? Like Trump said.
Yeah, exactly. They're
being punished by God. They're being punished by God because they're with that devil stuff.
And I think a lot of people really, really buy into that in the same way that they buy into these, that to the, like when we talk about them buying up into false ideas of colonialism being over, and the demonicness of African spiritual systems and what that means for us. People buy into a lot of that stuff when we think about even like the heavy presence of Christianity and colonial mentality, the Euro Christian mentality, as Bello mentions it. A lot of people lack the clarity because they buy into all of these false ideas about what our actual reality is today. And I think it is our job to continue to make sure that the story is in the media, right? In our media, when we really know that it's media for us, by us, and that we really help to push the clarity, right? To really put the facts forward, to really let people know what's going on, and that, colonialism is still going on. Like Luna said, puppets are still being installed. There's always, pressure from the US and from France coming in and deciding who gets to be elected and where does the money go, money flowing out, making sure that these countries and countries like Haiti are destabilized so that they can go in and, and be able to put in different puppet governments. And then you have instability, and then you have people leaving, and then people are complaining, well, you have migrants, but you're buying into this idea, and you're thinking that you don't want to support IT, you don't want to put it in the news, you don't want to have the conversation, you don't want to make sure that the US and the France and England and all of them stop doing what they're doing. So then you have migrants, ICM migrants, and then then you're having conversations about why are they coming here.
That's right.
And so I think it's important for people to really be clear. I think that clarity piece is something that we got to keep harping on, keep pushing forward, and keep doing our job to make clear that what we are in is a war. It's a continuous war. It never ended. Colonialism war. It is a war.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Haiti, there are some very basic facts that people should be aware of, or should be reminded whenever we talk about that. Little island that triggered the Pan-African Revolution has reverberated over the centuries. Okay, we're talking about something that started in the late 18th century, and is still having influence, nowadays. So people have to be aware of that. Haiti was the first independent Black republic in the history of our people. That the War of Liberation of Haiti has, as Gerald Horn, has explained on this program and others, it has triggered the crisis of the slave system, which could be overcome only by its, abolition, right? So it's also through the revolution, the glorious Haitian Revolution, that many of our forefathers, ancestors, were freed, up to the abolition of slavery in Brazil in 1888, which was one of the latest abolitions of slavery in that hemisphere. And also, Haiti has paid a hefty price for daring to challenge white supremacy in that small island, because as Fernando mentioned, Haiti and Dominican Republic used to be part of the same island, right? Hispaniola, right? When they fought against the French, it was Hispaniola. It was split in two. Dominican Republic seceded from Haiti in a war that was supported, funded by the U.S. and the Spanish. Was also based, they played on the contradictions within the Haitian society between the mulattoes, the light skin, and the dark skin, and that is still, being reproduced today, because the Dominicans, they tend to be fair in terms of to despise the Haitian because they are darker than they are, and Haiti also paid a heavy price in terms of reparations.
But even those who are dark, they'll say that they'll say they're natives. They'll say they're like the FBAs. They'll be like, I'm not African. I'm native.
And also, people have to understand that the majority of the population of Dominican Republic is not light.
Right.
Most of them are.
But the leadership. I mean, those.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And
when there's a book by famous. It's a novel actually, but it's based on real facts, history, by Peruvian writer Mario Vargas Llosa, right? The feast of the goat, La Fiesta del Chivo, and it's a novel about the dictator who ruled over Dominican Republic for 3 decades, Trujillo. And during Trujillo time, there were a lot of Haitians, thousands of Haitians who were assassinated, who were massacred, slaughtered.
Massacred.
There is a long tradition of people in the leadership of Dominican Republic being used to do the dirty job. And actually, one of the longest border walls in the world as we speak today is in the Dominican Republic, between Dominican Republic and in Haiti. And sometimes I watch their media, and see, the hostility to Haitians is widespread. I mean, even if you look at the comments under you take any video on YouTube from Dominican media talking about Haitian migration, even other people in South America, are commenting, lambasting the Haitians, with disparaging comments on the Haitians. At some point there was an anti-Haitian migrant campaign, very strong, very powerful in Chile, right?
Not surprised.
Became an issue in Chile, and I was watching one day Chilean news outlet commenting the wall between Haiti and Dominican Republic, and it was one of the most racist platforms that I've seen on YouTube, because all the comments were like, these Dominicans are in their right to build this wall because we should get rid of this Haitian plague that is invading our country.
Let me tell y'all, man, racism in South America is no joke. I know a lot of time people tend to go with this whole brown thing, the brown thing. Oh yeah, brown people, blah blah blah. When I'm Afro-Cuban, I know when we're down there, they're white people, and we're Afros. It's the same shit. I know sometimes from the West we tend to think, oh, brown people. Ain't shit. The descendants of the Spanish are just as bad as the descendant of the English, just as bad as the descendant of the French. And racism in Latin America is something crazy, because it's like you said, all the leadership is white all over South America, and it's accepted. Racism is just like into the culture, and it's not even. They don't even hide it.
Yeah, there have been some changes in the past 2 decades, I would say, but this maybe just a parenthesis. Because you had leaders like Evo Morales, Hugo Chavez, Rafael Correa in Ecuador, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, of course, and but this was after several decades of. But racism in Latin America is something.
It's not a joke.
Something that we definitely need to discuss. Although I know some of our brothers and sisters feel quite uncomfortable for strategic reasons. Okay, saying that
Hey.
the main enemy in the Western Hemisphere is white supremacy, right? Which is true. But
Yeah, I'm not
I
denying
think
that,
we
but
want
I'm
to
saying,
discuss this platform, for example, the fact that most non-white migrants in the US or most non-white minority groups in the US, they oppose reparations for Africans. Why would you oppose that?
Right.
So there are some
They
contradictions.
oppose affirmative action.
Affirmative action,
It still benefits them.
which is crazy because there is no group in the US, no minority.
it's not crazy. They're anti-African. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's
blackness.
crazy when you look at, it all depends on your conception of human nature. I'm quite pessimistic, but anyways, it's crazy when you look at the type of racism that those people had to go through. Anti-Chinese racism is no joke in the US. It has profound, profound roots, right? We can even go as far as as like the Irish immigration. The Irish when they came to America, to the US.
Yeah, they were discriminated like crazy.
I wouldn't say they were more despised than the blacks, but
Definitely
I think it was even equal.
Yeah, it was close. It was close. But the thing is that once they get assimilated, they turn right against us. They turn right against Africans.
Even Frederick Douglass.
Now we're part of this shit. Fuck y'all.
Frederick Douglass, who visited Ireland in the late 19th century and who actually sympathized with the plight of the Irish at the hands of the English, he was shocked.
Yeah.
See, how could the Irish, who's been oppressed so much by the English, can be so ruthless to the Negro in America, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's also too when we think about the creation of a buffer class. That's what we think about
buffer race,
right? Yeah, and so that's what especially when people think about, like you were saying, like how could they've been through this? How come that? Like when they'll look back and be like, oh well, the Chinese and the blacks and they used to work together, and but when they get the opportunity to be part of that buffer class, to be the ones who can open up the hospital or can open up the store or can buy that building or within our communities, right? Because also too, when you think about it, a lot of these people, these groups who are anti-black and oppose reparations, black people being able to control their own communities, they have businesses in our communities and they make money, tons of money off of our communities. They're sending their kids to college off of our communities, right? And so but at the same time, right, what allows it is to make sure if they continue to be complicit in the anti-blackness, the repression, that they will benefit from that, right? And so therefore you have that buffer class that they create to be able to say, okay, well, you're going to be the ones that can say, okay, well, at least I'm not black, right? I'm not black, so I don't have to worry about that. And therefore it also helps, instead of them, people really looking at, white supremacy and this white settler colonial government as the actual entity that is doing a lot of these things. You're gonna look, you have somebody else to look at and to scapegoat in a sense. And so it also makes me think of because we're talking about IET, we're talking about anti-blackness and all of this stuff, and getting people to be clear. And when we think about how we think or how we're talking about global anti-blackness, Napoleon's quote where he said, his decision to destroy the authority of blacks in Saint-Domingue was not based on his consideration of commerce and money, but specifically on the need to block forever, not for some time, not a little bit, not, until whatever, forever, the forward march of blacks in the world, not just in Haiti, not just in Saint-Domingue, the world forever. And so that's what we see. We see the continuation of this force to make sure that, African people do not move forward in a kind of way that is liberatory, in a kind of way that is emancipatory in the world, throughout the black world, throughout the African world, anywhere. So that's also, connects to the same way that we could see how after IET gained its independence, countries in Latin America who IET helped wouldn't support them in terms of trade. You see America wouldn't, you see, England. So they were also completely shut out, aside from having to pay reparations. So we see just the continuation of, that anti-blackness in so many different ways. And when you can align with, European economics, a lot of times they will do it. I mean, I've spoken to people who are not black and I'll ask them that question and they look at me like, Well, they don't want to say anything because they're saying, because literally they would, if they can, move into a certain position and have to, shit on black people at the, in order to do that, they would do it.
Yeah. That's real.
I mean, it's a very tricky issue because, these are some of the contradictions that the imperialists and colonials have been playing quite successfully, by the way. But
exactly, very successfully. Well, that makes me think about our Black Power break. I think it's important, if we show, one of the videos that we're talking, where Malcolm X is talking about understanding, liberals and conservatives and just the false ideas that Europeans put out there. So we are checking out Black Power Media. We're going on a Black Power break to give a little bit more insight into, or to add to what we're talking about here. Be back in a minute.
Rise up.
In this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal, and white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leader, who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gains, token progress. In the New York Tribune, in an editorial dated February the 5th, 1960, they pointed out that out of 11 million qualified Negro voters, only 2,700,000 actually take time to vote. This means that, roughly speaking, only 3 million out of the 11 million Negroes who are qualified to vote take an active part, and the remaining 8 million remain voluntarily inactive. And yet it is this small minority, the 3 million Negro voters, who help determine who will be the next president. If who will be the next president can be influenced by 3 million Negro voters, it is easy to see why the presidential candidates of both political parties put on such a false show with the Civil Rights Bill and promises of integration. They must impress the 3 million voting Negroes who are the actual integration seekers. And if so much fuss is made over these 3 million integration seekers, what would the presidential candidates have to do to appease the 8 million non-voting Negroes if they ever decided to become politically active? They hold the balance of power. Who are the 8 million non-voting Negroes? What do they want? And why don't they vote? The 3 million Negro voters are the so-called middle-class Negroes, or high-class Negroes, or uppity Negroes, who are referred to by the late Howard University sociology professor E. Franklin Frazier as the black bourgeoisie, who have been educated to think as patriotic individualists with no racial pride whatsoever, who believe in and look forward to the future integrated, intermarried society that is constantly being promised to them by the Negro politician. And therefore, this integration-minded 3 million minority remain an active part of the white-controlled political parties. But it must never be overlooked that these 3 million Negro integration seekers are only a small minority of the 11 million qualified Negro voters. The 8 million non-voting Negroes are the majority, the downtrodden black masses. They have refused to vote. They have refused to take a part in politics because they reject the Uncle Tom approach of the clergy politician leadership that has been handpicked for the so-called Negroes by the white man himself. This clergy politician leadership does not speak for the Negro majority. They don't speak for the black masses. They speak for the black bourgeoisie, the brainwashed, white-minded, middle-class minority, who, because they are ashamed of their race, because they are ashamed of being black, and don't want to be identified with black, they are seeking to lose this black identity by mixing and mingling and intermarrying and integrating with the white society. The race problem cannot be solved by listening to the white-minded, brainwashed minority. The white man must try to learn what the black majority want. The president would be wise to try and learn what the black masses want. And the only way to find this out is by listening to the man who speaks for the black masses. And I can declare to you tonight and to the entire world that the man here in America who speaks for the majority, the downtrodden, dissatisfied black masses, is this same man who so many thousands of our people are flocking toward to see and hear. This same Mr. Muhammad who is labeled by you as a black supremacist and as a racist and as an extremist. If the 3 million middle-class Negroes are casting their ballots for integration and intermarriage, what do the non-voting black masses who are in the majority want? Find out what the black masses want, and then perhaps America's grave race problem can be solved.
What's happening?
Hey,
What's happening?
look who joined us.
Collage is in the building.
You know what I'm saying? I had to go around in circles to catch up with y'all, man.
I see that. Literally in circles. We back in circles.
We back in circles. I don't know. We don't think we like it though.
You don't think you like it?
No.
I was trying to see if the earth was flat or not. You know what I'm saying? Prove my point. We back. It was good. It was good. How y'all feeling on this wonderful morning?
We're good. We're good. You know, been having a lot of discussion, you know, talking about Haiti this morning. Okay.
What was Boona's position? He thinking about, you know, sending troops out there. What's going on? What's happening?
Boona's hoping that, you know, the Kenyans, the Kenyan troops didn't get, the Kenyan mercenaries didn't get their checks yet.
Okay.
I hope they starve there.
You hope they starve. he said he hope they starve there. Well, that's fair.
Hope they don't get paid.
Hope they'll get paid. Man, they still didn't get their check, Boona?
Well, last time I checked, they didn't, but you know.
It's good.
We hoping it continues. We hoping, you know.
No doubt. That's good. That's what they get, man, for hanging with the colonizer, man. You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they don't get paid, they're just getting what they deserve, right? I mean,
they'll do it for free too, though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know,
black mercenaries are white supremacists.
Without a doubt. No doubt. Happy to see you, good people. What we got going on today?
So we
Yeah,
gotta
so we'll have our next guest soon. But before he joins us, I just wanted to share another story, which is quite sad, by the way. I woke up this morning and read that our comrade, friend, and brother, Ramzi Baroud, who was on the show, Dr. Ramzi Baroud, who was on the show last week talking about Palestinian resistance, lost his sister on October 9th. No, sorry, October 8th. She was assassinated by the Zionist settler colonial army, where she was, in a taxi with 6 other people who were also assassinated in Khan Yunis, which is, a place that the Zionist settler colonial army has been bombarding over the past. They've been bombarding it since last year, basically, but they've intensified their strikes. So here I'm just going to read a statement from the Palestine Chronicle, which is a news outlet that Ramsey has launched over, 25 years ago. So this was a message that was shared by Ramsey in memory of his beloved sister who was killed in an Israeli bombing this evening in Gaza. So Ramsey wrote, quite painful testimony, regarding what happened when 2 days ago when his sister was assassinated, and also talking about his relationship with his sister, who's been, a sense of inspiration for him. So as you all know, Ramsey was born in Gaza. He was raised there, and he went to the US to study, where he still lives, right? So Ramsey, in that message, he said, early this evening, Israeli killed, or more accurately, assassinated my sister, Dr. Soma Baroud, by bombing her taxi in the Khan Yunis area, killing her and 6 other innocent people. She was the kindest soul, a great mother, and most loving sister. She was a member of a generation of female doctors that revolutionized medicine in the Strip. She healed many people, never charged the poor, and until the last day of her life remained principled, loving, kind, and patient, even when Israel blew up her house a few weeks ago. I don't know what else to say, aside from the fact that I suddenly feel as a child who became orphan all over again. She was a leader of our family and fulfilled the role of our mother who died at a young age. I am sorry, sister, that I could do nothing to protect you. I feel deep shame that I live in the very country that paid for and made the bombs that killed you. When the numbness is gone, I will try to stay strong, only driven by the hope that we will meet again in paradise. So there you have on the right, Ramsey, Dr. Soma Baroud. So Ramsey's sister, that's her picture on the right, a recent one. Another one with Ramsey and his sisters, playing, I guess, near a beach in Gaza a few decades ago. So yeah, this was the sad news that we had to bring today. So I woke up. When I woke up, I read this, so it was very, very painful. So obviously, we, extending our condolence to Ramsey and Dr. Sumar, to Ramsey's family and the people of Gaza, especially the healthcare workers, a heavy price in this genocidal raid against the people of Palestine, and also since 2 weeks ago, the people of Lebanon as well. So this is the sad news that I wanted to share with our audience. So Ramsey is a direct, friend and comrade. We had him on the show. So when we're talking about genocide and assassination of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, we're talking about things that affect the people we know directly. I also have a friend who actually gave me this scarf, in which you can see the names of the Palestinian cities in Arabic. He met in Malaysia 10 years ago, and so when he gave me this scarf, he told me that I want you to speak for Palestine wherever you are, and I think this is the moment for us to speak up against Zionist genocide, whatever the cost, right? Because some of us not people in this in this show, but some activists are still shy when it comes to speaking against the crimes of Zionist settler colonialism. And once again, we extend our condolence to the Beirut family and also to the people of Gaza. Who've been going through this genocide. And this is also the issue that we wanted to cover today with our guest, who's been vocal, one of the faces and voices of Palestinian and Lebanese resistance to Zionist settler colonialism, Zionist genocidal campaign against the people of Lebanon. So our guest is an award-winning journalist and political commentator. He has been working in media since 1999. He's one of the creators and producers of the volunteer TV station and news outlet Free Palestine TV that people can visit and donate to on freepalestine.video. Freepalestine.video is very important. So he joins us from Lebanon. His name Beirut, Lebanon. His name is Laith Marouf. So Laith, welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show on Black Power Media. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. This is not the first time I'm interviewing Laith. I've interviewed him several times on the Activist News Network, and it's always an honor and pleasure to have Laith. So thank you for dedicating your time and energy to having this conversation with us. The situation there in Lebanon is very difficult. And in fact, when I interviewed, Lay has been on the front line for several months. In fact, there's a video that people can find online when I was interviewing him with another comrade, Kosi, and it was during bombardment, Israeli bombardment against Lebanon. And that interview had to be cut off because, the threat from the Israeli genocidal forces was so close to the place where Laith has been was back then. So, Laith, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Thank you, Bona, for this invitation, and definitely missed talking with you. And the situation obviously is getting more aggressive here. Since that time when we were live, before this invasion began of Beirut, of Lebanon, we were down south filming also, me and Hadi Htait, my comrade and the camera person. And we were like near an empty field. The Israeli Air Force decided to shoot right beside us. Clearly they knew who we were, what we were doing, and there's nobody else around us. It's an empty field, and they fired a white phosphorus shell, and we were lucky that the wind blew the other side, and they were not satisfied with that, so they fired an explosive head, but again we had like the protection. There's a 0.5 meter cement wall at the edge of this empty field that we were standing and filming beside, that took the shrapnel hit. So, and obviously the Israelis continue to target journalists here in Lebanon. We were lucky, others were not. And just as we're, I was setting up right now for this interview, there was 2 different attacks on 4 different buildings in Beirut, not in the southern suburb, but colloquially is called Al-Dahi. Dahi means suburb, by the way. It's just like saying banlieue in French. And so this is an indicator that right now they want to expand their bombardment of the city to what is not quote unquote Hezbollah areas, as they would like to call the southern suburb, which is just a working class suburb that's very diverse. And so it is getting more dangerous. This attacks on Beirut today, in the last hour, their response to the valiant defense that Hezbollah is exhibiting in the south of Lebanon. This morning, a column of Israeli military, something like 10 tanks and APCs with a infantry platoon walking with it, were trying to invade at the Naqoura, Ras al-Naqoura area, which is basically the coastal area on the border between Palestine and Lebanon. And Hezbollah managed to hit the column, destroy multiple tanks, and any of those soldiers that were around them basically got minced because they had no protection. And since the morning, the Israelis attempted 4 times, including just minutes before they attacked Beirut today, to extract their dead and wounded soldiers. And every time Hezbollah managed to hit the troops coming to pull their dead, and they're losing more and more. So you could imagine 4 waves of attempts to pull out those still burning tanks, how many men it cost them, the Zionists. And this is why they retaliated with the only thing they know, which is to kill civilians and attack civilian infrastructure.
Yeah, thank you very much for that analysis, Laith. We did have a question on Hezbollah in its capabilities, because there has been a lot of propaganda from the Israeli and the mainstream Western press. But I think before that, our comrade Fernando had a question on FPTV. Fernando?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Laith. And, given the circumstances, we definitely want to thank you, for taking the time to be here with us on Black Power Media. We wanted to ask you, first off, our first question was about Free Palestine TV. We wanted to ask you when it was set up, the type of information that people can find on Free Palestine TV, and also how pro-genocide forces have tried to sabotage the work that you've been doing with FPTV.
Yes, so once the Al-Aqsa flood operation happened and the beginning of the genocide in Gaza, given that I have an expertise in building radio and television stations, I'm a radio and television policy and law consultant and have worked with many communities. I decided to try to help here in my capacity as that, and we outreach to the universities, the professors and students in the different departments relevant, like journalism, communication, translation, and the youth of all the political parties and the community organizations, to bring them together to produce content in English that can portray and reflect the realities and the hopes of the people in Lebanon as this war unfolded. And so this is work that is unique. There's nothing like it in the region. And definitely we see the power of community and citizen journalism in bringing us the truth from the ground in Gaza. And we saw that there is nothing like that in Lebanon. So we had to bring together the youth to be able to do this work. And when you're producing content in English, then you are addressing the population that the Zionists would like to control, the Western audience, right? And because it's unique work, and there's no competition to it, it means that it takes a lot of space immediately because it's unique content. And that's something that we need to always think about when we're trying to create community effective community media is how can I produce content with the least resources that I have that can reach on a large scale. Okay, so designing the kind of programming is important. This got us into a lot of trouble. The Zionists in Canada, who already hate me for decades, I was, their number one enemy in Canada, piled up, calling FPTV as a terrorist television and calling on Canadian government to, I don't know, pull my citizenship and stuff like that. Of course, I already noted the targeting already by the military. And here on the ground in Lebanon, there's already problems for us. There's the PLO, not PLO, the Fatah party people that belong to Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Non-Authority, who are collaborating with the Israelis inside the West Bank to suppress the Palestinians. They were pissed off at our content being produced that is critical of the collaborationists. We had guns pulled on us here in Beirut by Fatah thugs. Our studios were raided and destroyed, and all the equipments, $22,000 of equipment stolen. This was just a month and a half into the production. This is like in end of November last year. So you could see how it had an effect. And now we have journalists that are producing inside the West Bank, 7 journalists and a office bureau manager who was a prisoner of war, Ferouz Salame. She was detained for a long time as a student leader in the Birzeit University without charges, under administrative detention, and she was one of the people that were released during the exchange in the beginning of the genocide that everybody forgot about right now, the exchange of prisoners of war. She got kidnapped by Palestinian Authority goons and held last week. And the money that we had sent for paying all those journalists was stolen by the Palestinian Authority. And they're holding it, and we're going to court for it. So clearly, if you have all this really serious death or life threats to you as, and I don't mean me, I mean everybody who is producing this content, it means that this is hitting a nerve. This is achieving something unimaginable for them. They don't accept that the Palestinian and Lebanese people and Syrian people here that are involved in these productions can have a say in our future.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I blabbed there. I feel like I threw a lot there. I don't think a lot of you had expected all this disclosure, which I haven't done anywhere before. But it's pretty serious stuff. Sorry about that.
No, we appreciate it for sure. It's necessary.
Yeah. And Laith, just a quick footnote. The reason why I insisted on freepalestine.video is because some Zionists have actually, created another website called freepalestine.tv, which is, it was set up to counter the important work that you've been doing.
Yeah, so don't go to it because it has viruses. They have like a QR code, and it's designers from Toronto. So you could imagine, I haven't been in the country in years, and they're still aching. I take so much space in their mind that they have to. When I started Free Palestine TV, I looked at that website, freepalestine.tv. And, the .tv is the island Tuvalu owns it. And it's now the majority of their industry. If the income of the country is selling the .tv URL code. So it was $6,000. So I was like, I'm doing a community and donations based thing. I'm not going to spend that. And it seems like some wacko Zionist in Toronto decided that they want to drop $6,000. Maybe the embassy is behind them, but clearly they spent the money.
Yeah, I think especially thinking about all that you were laid out for us, especially thinking about media and how all of those things are playing a role in how people are taking in the information, understanding what's actually happening, the misinformation as to what is real, what is not, what is true. I wanted to see if we wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit more about the claims that have been made that Israel, the settler colonial state of Israel has made about the degraded and capacities of Hezbollah following the pager walkie-talkie attacks that happened recently, and the killing of Hezbollah top commanders, as well as thinking about like leaders like Saeed Hassan Nasrallah, and that have been assassinated by the Zionist settler colonial state. So if you could talk to us a little bit about what's actually going on, like have they done it? Like, can you clear up some of that some of that information that has been put in propaganda that's been put out there?
Yes. So look, all of these attacks were huge blows. We can't deny that the loss of somebody like Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah is not a huge blow, right? I mean, he was a person that we have something like once a century, or a few a century like them, like one of tens of millions of people. Like, he's going to be one of the people that we all memorize their name in history books. We can all count from the beginning of humanity till now the memorable names. He's going to be one of those. So the loss of somebody like that is huge. Clearly, the breach on the walkie-talkies and pagers was a war crime. It is a breach of booby trapping devices as a form of war that was banned after the Nazis were doing that, and booby trapping homes and so on for people when they walk into them to blow up. But our enemy is vicious. And it is expected, luckily, I would say, that attack didn't happen in the midst of the war that we are seeing today. Can you imagine during the right now current invasion, if the Zionists blew up those pagers and walkie-talkies? That would have been devastating. It was a big hit, but luckily, the majority of those who had those devices were not harmed. And even if you imagine the Russian military, if during this war in Ukraine had lost all its top commanders and a huge breach like this pager thing, would the Russian military be able to survive this? But because Hezbollah is it's an insurgency, it's a rebel group, it's a militia. Okay, that means that the organization has been prepared from day one. In the 1980s, its leaders were assassinated, and it's prepared because it's a rebel group. in cell formations, in shadows and contingencies, and so on. For instance, when you look at groups like the rebels in Algeria or in Vietnam or other places, what we see as the names in front of us that are public names, they have a shadow that is unnamed. There's a secret organization always in the organizing like this. Because, once you have public faces for an organization, they become easier targets. They need to also be public and move and meet and so on. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was the head of a political party, the largest political party in the country. And he had to meet every week with heads of other parties and dignitaries and so on. How hard is it to actually track him after 15 years of him being public, right? But now Hezbollah has survived it, and I think the greatest example of that is what we've seen over the last 11 days of the attempted invasion of South Lebanon. I'm sorry, if there was by accident one of the other programs open. There's only 3 paths to invade Lebanon geographically because of the hills and the mountains. And there's frontline villages right there in Lebanon, on the border exactly, that are militarily fallen. They're undefensible. There's hills on top of them that can hit them, so on. So in a regular situation, Hezbollah or any rational military would withdraw, let that village fall, and then bombard it from a safer place. But Hezbollah, for the last 11 days, has been refusing to let go of 1 meter of land. They are staying in these frontline villages that have been bombarded with something like 8,000 air raids, and not allowing the Zionists, the repelling wave after wave of the special forces, our army columns, the paratroopers, everything. And the Zionists are not able to get 1 inch. So for Hezbollah to do this, it is to prove 2 things. One is that it's in full command of its abilities, and is actually is in command of the field. The Zionists have no control of what's going to happen on the ground, and not 1 inch of Lebanon will be allowed to be occupied.
Thank you for go ahead, Buna. You wanted to add on something? I had another question.
I did have a follow-up question because I'm reading the Israeli Press on a daily basis, and fully propaganda. So one of the arguments that the narratives that their top military commanders have come up with is that Hezbollah has totally been disorganized, but at the same time we've seen Hezbollah intensify its attacks. Not only intensify its attacks within Israel, but make direct hits, including in Haifa, which is the 3rd largest city. Of the past 2 or 3 days, Hezbollah has sent daily more than 200 missiles in cities like Haifa. So, and also so far the Israeli press has reported, despite the censorship of the Israeli army, that already 12 officers have been killed, which is quite huge when you know the type of censorship that exists in Israel when it comes to unveiling the casualties. So there's a contradiction between the narratives and also the intensification of Hezbollah, not only its attempts, its the missile that it's launching, but the hits that he's actually making on the ground. So I was just wondering if you could give us more information.
Yes. Of course, Hezbollah has been conducting around 20 operations a day right now, which is double than before the invasion. And one night they reached almost 27 or 28 operations. So they're bombarding the whole zone between the border of South Lebanon to Haifa, all the way to Lake Tabaria, or what they call in English the Sea of Galilee. Okay, so we're talking about a third of the geographic territory of what is the Zionist colony, if you take out the West Bank and Gaza. So, and all of this zone now is emptied of colonists. Haifa right now, there's huge waves of internally displaced that are going down to Tel Aviv, in the heartland between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And so yesterday, Hezbollah destroyed completely Kiryat Shmona colony in the Hula Valley in the north, and it's doing that to all the colonies in the north of Palestine, because the Zionists are destroying all of the south villages. If you see videos right now of villages in the south of Lebanon, it looks like Gaza. And the attacks on Haifa over the last 24 hours were a message that coincided also with the Hudhud video, the third surveillance video that they released yesterday, and people can watch that on FPTV. We do translations of all the operational videos of the resistance, and that's because Hezbollah is trying to reassert a formula of deterrence. If the Dahiya is being attacked, the southern suburb, then Haifa will be attacked. That was the message yesterday. So the Israelis today losing the attempt to invade in Ras al-Naqura and refusing to accept this formula that is being Hezbollah is trying to reassert it, because since the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah has not been able to force the Israelis into a parameters for the battle. So the Israelis are responding today by attacking those 4 different buildings in Beirut proper, is them refusing a formula that Hezbollah is trying to impose. So we should be expecting that Hezbollah will attack further than Haifa very soon, directly on civilian infrastructure.
That was thanks for adding that. I was gonna actually, I had a question about if you were gonna be able to, if you could expand and let us know what the situation on the ground is. But I think Buna's question led you to be able to shed more light on that. I don't know if Kalanji, if you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yes, I'm sorry. First of all, definitely, Laith, we appreciate you coming through. And when you were speaking on Hezbollah, the first thing I thought about was Algiers. I thought about the Battle of Algiers. I thought about the fact that they are a guerrilla formation, and it's intelligent to have guerrilla formations because, as you mentioned, you have these cells, so you're not counting on any particular individual or any individual for leadership, because usually they say cut off the head and the body dies, and in this case it's almost like it regenerates, and it morphs in a way that makes it more devastatingly effective, because now you're not moving off of sensationalism. You're not moving off of because some people, emotionalism, but it's a sense of, okay, we expect certain things because this is what comes with war, right? So that's something that is interesting, to say the least. I think that it would be fair to give you credit to say that you were one of, if not the first, analyst to predict the quote unquote genocide in Gaza, predicted it would blossom into a regional war that would engulf Lebanon and make other actors, Iran, Iraqi resistance, etc., to intervene more directly. Last week, Iran launched the long-awaited retaliation strikes against the Zionist settler colonial state. Asking you, from your assessment, what was the significance in that Iranian retaliation, and also what would you say should be expected, in days to come? Because this is this form of resistance, I think that many who are against oppression have sat back and watched Zionist Israel. They've watched the U.S., France, Portugal, Spain, and so on and so forth, continue to just decimate and destroy without any type of repercussion. And I think that Iran stepping forward was a message that in many cases, you stand against tyranny and oppression. So what are your thoughts on, on the significance, and also what would you say, just from, your experience, your research, your living, that you would say would be expected? It wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah. The response by Iran, the retaliation for the assassination of Sheikh Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas in Tehran, was, I think, what it exposed is that all the air defenses of the empire cannot stop Iran missiles, and those, by extension, the missiles of the axis of resistance as a whole. So anybody that had doubt that the end of the Zionist colony is coming, anyone that was still dreaming that this Zionist colony could survive this genocide, it proved to them that that's not going to happen. This is the end. We're seeing the end days of Zionism. They try to hide how significant the attack by Iran was. And, we all watched that one video about a hit of the missiles hitting the base in the south of occupied Palestine. It's the major Israeli air base. It has the most important air defenses in the whole world combined. The US has installed everything and anything that it has to defend this air base for the Zionists. It's where the F-35s are hosted. And 45 missiles were thrown at this base, and 45 missiles hit all their targets. And it was so significant and brazen that for the first time in a whole year, those satellite imagery companies released images of this destruction of an Israeli base. For a whole year, all of these companies colluded together not to show us the destruction caused by the resistance on Israel. Didn't allow us to see. But this was so brazen, and I think it shook some parts of the imperial order, that somebody decided, well, you know what, we have to show it. And what we saw is destruction of hangars, the runways, the destruction of command, destruction of the air defense systems, and even charred remains of into the asphalt that you could see of all these different jets. But clearly the Zionists are intent on responding to this attack by Iran. And, how this will affect the whole region. I think for a second there, my camera went out, and hopefully it's back. Yes, no?
No, it went out again. They don't want us to see your face. They think you're too happy to talk about this resistance.
Yes. Look, let me try on the settings here. It's maybe changed. Here we go. Okay, so the Israelis are going to attack, and just hearing how Trump and the opposition in Canada and others are saying go ahead and nuke Iran, and Trump talking about him going to bombard Iranian cities and so on, that means that they will be attacking, and Iran is ready for it. And the response of Iran is going to be huge, and it's going to include responses from all the axis of resistance. And where will America and France and all of them stand? They're already on the ground. They're already flying. They're already attacking. They're going to intervene. So in the next week or so, even before the American elections, there'll be a whole regional war. And how will that affect the streets in the West? How will that even affect the American elections? Will they have an American election? Maybe Harris will call martial law. So the next 3 weeks are going to be crucial for all of humanity. I don't think most people understand where we are. People think it's just here. The Palestinians and the resistance in Lebanon, with all the sacrifices that they gave, have brought the empire to its knees, and the empire is going crazy. They will let Israel go wild, and which is going to drag everybody into a world war. So 3 weeks from now, let's talk about it. Let's see if we're alive.
Wow, that's real serious. And I'm sorry, I just hearing this, thinking it is one thing, and in your mind you're like, I don't think people really know what the fuck is going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Because folks are still planning, for the holidays. You know what I mean? And with all the things that's going on right now, from the tornadoes to the hurricanes to what's going on in the Sudan, what's going on in Haiti, and what's going on with Lebanon and Israel going wild everywhere, and people fed the fuck up. It's really just like, and I speak to people. I'm like, hey, have you watched the show? Nah, I was busy. I'm doing such and such, whatever. Okay, all right, we hear you. Well, what's going on? Okay, well, if you're not paying attention, what's going? You sitting there worried about Diddy. you have another thing coming, because it's literally, the empire is desperate right now. They're in a very desperate state. And one thing we learned about Europeans is when they're desperate, they go to extreme lengths. And they're very emotional. They're like children. And the thing is, for so long, people have gave Israel and the U.S. so much credit. For some reason, they look at the white man as if he has some type of superpower, like he's supernatural, and don't do that because he'll do this. It's like the Wiz. I don't know if you ever saw the Wizard of Oz lately, but it's this little motherfucker that's trying to call the shots. And all of a sudden, folks realize, oh, it's you? I could have kicked your ass a long time ago. Oh yeah, and that's what's happening right now. But part of my English, that's a holdover for me being colonized here in the States.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Yeah, I look, the the fight here in Palestine, why it is so significant. It has so many reasons for that. One, of course, the geography. You know, Palestine is the crossroads of all trade, that point. Whoever controls it, empires reach their apex if they hold Palestine, and they fall once they lose Palestine. It's it's geography. It is also the fact that the fabricated white identity that was, made in the furnace of, colonialism in North America, that merged Germanic, Anglo, and Latino people, Latin meaning French and Italian and Spanish, into this fake identity. What keeps this fake identity glued together is the idea that it is the inheritor of all the theological heritage of the Arabic people and their ancestors. That they are, as Europeans, as this white identity, are the descendants of Moses and Jesus and the first Christians and the first Jews, and everybody who is indigenous from this land is a heretic that doesn't know what his own people brought to this world. And so you cannot have this Jewish white supremacist identity called Zionism, or this Christian white supremacist identity that manifests in KKK and the whole Manifest Destiny and so forth, if you don't hold Palestine. If there is indigenous people in Palestine that are projecting the true image of what Judaism is and what Christianity is, what Islam is, right? So the liberation of Palestine will lead to the collapse not only of the imperial power, it will lead to the collapse of the fake identity of whiteness that everybody tries to emulate when they colonized people. This has been at the core of European relationship with the Arabic peoples and their ancestors from time immemorial, from their occupation of our land and usurpation of the Canaanite pantheon, of gods, Baal and Godfather, becoming Apollo or Zeus. The Greeks and the Romans just copied our gods before and, stole our alphabet and made them, and they come back and they come and steal our identity and come back. It's just, Rachel Dolzinger in the U.S. there, that white woman that was pretending to be black.
It's a dozer. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, honestly, at the core of whiteness is to try to pretend Semite or pretend Arab or pretend African. Okay.
Then you're anti-Semite.
Yes, right.
Say such a thing.
Yes. So that's a very important reason why they will fight for it till the last man. This is not only a decolonization process just like Algeria or Vietnam. This hits at the core of what keeps this imperial order together through this identity.
So, Laith, are you suggesting that white folks have Rachel Dolezal disease? Are you saying that that's what's going on? That they have this identity where they think that they're everyone else? I mean, that's a serious.
And what's her name? That Senator Warren, doing pretendian, right? Yes, she's a pretendian. They call them in Canada.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the Zionism is pretend Semitism, right? The white descendants of converts to Judaism claiming that they are the Semites, and me as a Semite is the imposter. Sorry, sickness.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I want you to go back to the issue of repression, which Laith has kind of alluded to, and this is something that we've discussed, including bilaterally. I totally agree with you when you say that a lot of people are not aware of what is at stake right now. Like people living like life is normal, having my salary paid, enjoying my life, don't really care whether my the state, the people who are governing us are actually funding, supporting the genocide, which is the case of all the countries that Natasha, Fernando, and Kalanji and I are living. Despite Macron's claim that he's going to hold the export of weapons to Israel, the French government and companies affiliated to the French government are directly supplying weapons to Israel. And I think one of the worst governments on planet Earth in this issue is probably the German government, which has announced again today that is going to provide more weapons to Israel. So I wanted to go back to the issue of repression and also how people, the type of reaction from those governments that are funding and supporting the genocide, that activists or people who call themselves activists and even lay people who are just expressing their indignation, their opposition to the genocide, what type of backlash should they be expected to be confronted with?
I was looking on the Twitter today, and I saw an announcement that Greta Thunberg was banned from entering Germany because she was going to some event about Palestine. And, I was cracking in my head. I was like, wow. Obviously you could see this child, how she has grown. First off, in the beginning, her eco activism was, very first world, kind of white, and very disattached from the main reason we have an ecocide on this planet, which is imperialism, colonialism, and capitalism. And she had come to conclusions that it seems like many adults were not able to come to very fast. I commend her for her growth. And to see her becoming the target of hate from the mainstream media, from being the darling, the face of new white progressiveness, that's supposed to be detached from from the root causes of the problems, to her growth to this and becoming the number one hate target by this media, it should indicate to everybody, if this person can be targeted this way in a young woman now, to be such a target of such hate, what's going to happen to everybody else? Of course, the streets are speaking. We saw the riots basically happening in Germany already this week. The repression of the German police is out of this world. I saw a video of a German cop just running towards a young woman in a skirt and grabbing her from her neck and twisting her like a fan and throwing her down with all his weight on top of her. I was like, what is happening here? Are we in a gladiator arena against a young woman? Big, burly German. I mean, I personally, seeing these images and seeing the repression and arrests happening across North America and the targeting of students specifically and so on, these are all smoke signals to what's going to happen very soon as this war breaks out and it engulfs the region and shuts down oil and gas supplies to the west, and millions of people under bombardment, and American and French and British soldiers coming back in coffins. Those demonstrations that we saw over the last year across the West are going to look like walks in the picnic, because a bigger part of the population, the larger Arabic and Muslim population, is going to be more radicalized, as it should be, and with it, anyone who supports them. And then that means this will be more repression by the state to stabilize itself as it's going ahead with mass genocide of a whole region, not only Gaza. Okay, so people should be expecting in Europe that I do believe there will be martial law called in many countries, especially countries with large Arab, Muslim, African populations, like France, like Canada, like the US, like the Netherlands. Those are all countries that are going to have riots in the streets, and people should be ready for that.
Yes. No, definitely. We appreciate your analysis, and of course, we welcome you to come back on in the near future. I think that 3-week report. What you think, Boone? I think we need to come back on that, revisit, see if Laith know what he's talking about or not. Laith,
I really appreciate, because I reached out to Laith, to check on him yesterday, because I've been following him, his interviews on Activist News Network, Carl Nixon podcast on YouTube channel, and also Free Palestine TV. And by the way, there's a video that I really recommend, which is Laith and Professor Mohammed Morandi, whom we should probably have on the show together with Laith, because he's the one who's been predicting the Iranian retaliation, which a lot of people have been making fun of. But I think some people have been taking him seriously since last week. And there's a very interesting video of Laith and Professor Morandi in Beirut, on the ground, in Dahye, and even in the, at the place where Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was assassinated. And there's also another interview of Laith and Professor Morandi on Free Palestine TV that people can find on the YouTube channel of Free Palestine TV. Right after Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was assassinated and before the Iranian retaliation. So these are the resources that really encourage people to research and consult, and I'm very grateful to Laith, because this is not the first time I interview him. I reached out to him yesterday night, and he said, I can come anytime on your show. So, and this is probably the best analysis we can get from the people on the ground, because he's been in Lebanon since this conflict started, and every single outcome that he has predicted since day one has been vindicated. So
it's I'm not that happy about it, because obviously it's gloom and doom, right? But it is very logical when we think about it. And I want to thank you all for inviting me. It's always my pleasure, and I think it's my duty also to speak to our brothers and sisters of African descent like us. And I believe Arabs are African, and the whole Arabian plate is just part of African plate that is breaking up. From there, we're African, and a lot of times people forget us. They can't put us Asian, African. They dehumanize us, right? When we think about things. And Free Palestine TV is translating daily all the military operation videos coming out from all of the fronts. We're doing daily reports from the West Bank and Lebanon. We have multiple shows. One is Buna mentioned an interview show called Wartime Cafe, where we sit in a coffee shop with personalities here in Lebanon and speak frankly about things, and a show that is really pissing off the Israelis called Palestinian Prisoners of War Speak, where we're interviewing former Palestinian detainees and in the West Bank, and they're telling us their stories, and we're trying to do as much as we can. Please visit our website, donate, subscribe, follow all our socials, and I'm here anytime. And hopefully, I'll be wrong one time, and it will be a better story. Okay.
Thank you very much, Laith, once again for joining us. Excellent. And we encourage our viewers to visit and donate to freepalestine.video. freepalestine.video.
Thank you, Laith. Thank you.
We definitely appreciate it. You saved Buna's job, Laith. We didn't think that Buna could pull it off. Buna was on his way out, and you just came in the nick of time. So thanks a lot, Laith.
All right. See you soon. All right. I love you all, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Be safe. You're checking out Rise Up TV. It's Rise Up TV, the Rise Up Morning Show, with our host Buna. And
I'm the guest report. I'm the guest now.
You're the guest now, yeah.
It's time for Buna report, right? But it's already
time for the Buna report. Anyway, we're going to go to a quick break. I'm sure we got something on deck after that last clip was so long. I forgot that we was on that we was on the air. But we're gonna be back with you. This is again Rise Up Morning Show. Stay tuned. Stay on point. Appreciate what you all appreciate you all checking us out, and we'll go to this quick Black Power break. We'll be right back as we
I was a militant and angry young man. I wanted to go back and fight after resting for a few months. I found our movement totally unprepared for the continuation of the armed struggle in South Africa. That was my reading of the situation. Of course, there were reasons that they were put forward. I found a lot of preoccupation with solidarity work, with international work, and I found a lot of demoralization amongst our chaps who were in camps in Zambia. And I began to agitate for the resumption of the armed struggle, for seriousness on the part of the leadership. I'm using the word seriousness because in my own view, and this was a subjective point of view, that they were not serious. And I became part of the writing of a memorandum which was very critical of the leadership. Well, that memorandum put us into some trouble. The leadership was angry. They thought our attacks were unfounded and irrational. And some of them felt that our attacks bordered on insubordination and on mutiny. We were suspended from the organization. But that memorandum brought about a lot of heated discussion within the ANC. The need to have a conference, the need to work out a clearer strategy of struggle, of revolutionary struggle. And ironically, there was the Morogoro conference. We were excluded from the Morogoro conference because we were regarded as rebels. But I'm able to say that Morogoro conference ushered in serious discussions which led to for the first time to the formulation of a clear strategy about the waging of a revolutionary war in the country, of a people's war, the need to build the underground, the need for propaganda, the need for mass mobilization. So, despite the fact that, I sort of suffered as a co-author of the document in terms of isolation, in terms of suspension, but I felt that I was going to accept any sort of punishment, because I told the people, though some of them thought that I was a traitor, that, my basic objective is struggle in South Africa. I could have left, as others did, and to go and study. I had a degree from Rhodes University. But I felt that I was not going to go and study. It was my revolutionary duty to be part of the armed struggle of the revolution in South Africa. So I was able to understand, the anger and the bitterness of others. And but I felt that, whatever they said, I was not a traitor. I had no malicious intentions in writing that document. That document was a product of my own subjective feelings about the need to intensify the battles inside South Africa. And I'm happy that, we remained and they continue to be part of preparations for the continuation of the political and military struggle inside our country. I want to be honest. I was annoyed. I was marooned in the Transkei when the decision was taken to suspend the armed struggle. My indemnity had been withdrawn. I spent more than 27 years in MK. I'd spent the best part of my life in an armed struggle against this regime. I was angry and bitter that this decision was taken without comprehensive consultation. That was my immediate gut feeling. I didn't sleep when our delegation was locked with de Klerk negotiating. I was waiting for the outcome. When there was that press conference early in the morning announcing the suspension of military activities, I felt like crying. I'm one of the people who have seen comrades dying, both inside the country and outside the country, in the struggle against the regime of terror in Pretoria. I know the names, I know the faces. I know how these young people put aside everything in life to concentrate in the fight against white domination. And I said to myself, probably this was the right decision. But why was it that there was no widespread consultation with those who were actually involved in the physical side of armed struggle? That was my initial reaction. But like a disciplined soldier, a disciplined member of the movement, the decision had been taken. I had to understand this decision. And when it was explained that it was important to maintain the momentum of negotiations, I was ready to be reined in to explain it to other comrades. And I did it. Because in a movement as big as ours, sometimes you've got to subject your own strong personal views and accept the views.
Guys, there's still.
Yes. We got Boona in the big seat over there. Boona, bring your ass back over here with us. Anyway, check it out, the Rise Up Morning Show. Really great show. I'm tired. I've been here since the bell rung. You know what I mean? Since 8 a.m. You know, some of these other cats was fronting. It's all good. Real good show. Definitely appreciate it. Natasha DJing over there with her long clips. It's cool. We Chris Honey's our guy. We have it's the weekend, right?
Yeah.
First off, yeah. But let me say, shout out to my daughter today. My daughter Zuri's birthday. So I want to salute her on this wonderful, marvelous day. You know what I'm saying? Keep up the solid work to my baby girl.
Another Libra.
Oh, I forgot she was a Libra. I shouldn't even say it. Almost, my baby almost didn't get a shout out because of you Libras. Anyway, I know Isaac somewhere watching, talking about you got work to do. You know what I'm saying? Isaac,
another
Shout
Libra.
out to Isaac, man.
Yes, Isaac. Boona miss you, Isaac.
Yeah, definitely.
Him and Gerald Horn. But anyway, definitely we got a strong week coming up next week. Make sure you all tap in. Subscribe to the platform. You know, we are growing. A couple new shows coming up. And we're grateful. We're grateful.
Right.
Yeah. Get the new the latest episode of Afro. Latest
issue.
Thank you. Boy, look at that. Boy, look. Boy,
Oh, it's too early. It's too early in the morning for you.
I
Yeah.
know. I got to stretch. Anyway, we have another issue coming out quick soon. It's going to be out.
The third one,
another,
right?
Yeah. Probably less than 2 weeks because
quick.
we have we're getting a lot of articles in. Salute to all the writers and everything. Last issue, Fernando and one of his guys did an excellent job on a piece. So make sure you check that out. Tap in. We're trying to decide who's going to be in the cover of this third issue. You know what I mean? So
yeah, let's ask people in the chat what they saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey,
So
Buna
on the cover.
Buna on the beat. Oh, Buna like Kendrick Lamar. Buna on the beat. Oh, anyway, yeah. Let us know who y'all want on the cover of Afro Pick. You know what I'm saying? We might listen, we might not. You know what I'm saying? We might just be like, so
we might
what?
save the suggestions for next time too.
Look at that boy. Look at Natasha, boy. Natasha be on it. She lying. We ain't gonna listen to y'all. Anyway, I'm joking. Have a powerful week. Keep on keeping on. Next week we'll probably do a special Indigenous Day episode. You know what I mean? Or something on Indigenous Day. We know formerly known as Columbus. It's Christopher Columbus and whatnot. We're gonna change the game on that, change that narrative. Also, it'll be the anniversary of the Black Panther Party next week. So, we'll be doing some things. Y'all cool? Anything y'all want to say before we get out? Boona on the time slot, so we trying to rush this thing off because when we get off, Boona gonna be like, and I'm like, yo, chill. Now I'm gonna get my check. But anyway.
I look like the Kenyan policemen haven't been paid, right?
Definitely. Yes, us and the Kenyan police, we got the same check, 0. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on over here. Only we're anti-imperialists. We don't we don't fight against our brothers and sisters, even though some of them need their ass whooped, but we good on our end. But anyway, y'all good? Any closing words before we break out?
No.
Rise up.
Yeah, rise up. Yeah, and pay attention these next few weeks.
No doubt. You heard what the man said. Yeah. No Diddy. Anyway, y'all be safe. We out of here.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and that babbling, but the baby's in the bath and a stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me, really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. A chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.